So then the question then remains, how could the current low-intensity conflict that's on slow boil...
So many questions remain. You've done nothing. You haven't even proposed anything. There
is a reason in the age of the internet that...
You're speaking riddles, my friend. I got a quick one for y'all, all right? I got a quick one. Don't worry. This one will be fast, all right? And it's gonna be a jam. And then hey, maybe we can watch that Hot Ones. We could watch that Hot Ones with the thing, and then we'll enjoy it. I know it's spoopy. We don't really watch any Black Pigeon Speaks on this channel for good reason, because other people have done such a good job of taking them down. Check out Sean. Check out Three Arrows. In fact, I would say that's pretty much what started their careers, right? And he's changed his name now to Felix Rex. No longer Black Pigeon Speaks. He's now been rebranded as Felix Rex for everybody. But this is called How America Ends.
Over the past several years, we've been witnessing a kind of inversion socially. One by one, social taboos have been and are being inverted. Those that object to any aspect of this agenda, especially as it relates to children, are labeled close-minded. They're labeled bigots. And a new word is created by adding the suffix phobe to a noun, and voila! A new cultural consensus is manufactured and must be submitted to on pain of social and financial suicide. And all of this is happening at the very exact same time that diversity of thought, diversity of opinion, and diversity of speech is being severely curtailed in the media.
So if it's hard for you to understand what's going on, and I understand why, it's quite bizarre and confusing. It's kind of like if David Lynch was trying to provoke a civil war and had no discernible talent. That's kind of what you're watching. But he's bringing up the fact that all the conservatives want to talk about how we're ignoring pedophiles, because they're big on the pedophile callouts right now. You know, it's and I mean, in the case of Ian Miles Chong, as we discovered yesterday, it's kind of a Spider-Man meme at this point. But then conflating that with the fact that we have to at the same time be very, very fearful, because of course the word phobe will be applied to anything that you think of.
Expressing support for old customs, old culture, old habits, or old ideas can see you deplatformed and made unemployed and unable to feed your children. And the people perpetrating this new thought order, well, they'll laugh at the misfortune that they themselves bestow upon you and your family, and will giggle as they destroy your life for wrongthink. Now, this new and extremely toxic cultural environment,
we got 1984 getting invoked,
a bit of dishonest and self-righteous media, added with a dash of heavily censored social media, and a very large helping indeed of months of chaos on the streets, well, America has once again found itself in the run-up to a presidential election this November. But this being America, surely nothing could go wrong, right?
Felix Rex, BPS.
If there is one outcome of the 2016 contest between Hillary Clinton and President Trump that I think everyone can agree on at this point, is that you cannot believe the polls. A very good reason for this, in the US in particular, is the current social and cultural climate that has seen millions upon millions of Americans employing what is called preference falsification. Now, defined, preference falsification is the act of communicating a preference that differs from one's own true preference. The public frequently convey, especially to researchers or pollsters, preferences that differ from what they actually truly want, often because they believe the conveyed preference is more acceptable socially.
Yes, the Lugan polls. Yeah, I've heard about these. So people aren't actually believing any of the things they believe nowadays. We're being forced to say these things because deep down we feel otherwise. Deep down, our beliefs are being controlled, manipulated, if you will, by thought police.
And the reason for this is that open discussion, freedom of speech are no longer seen by a wide swath of the population and by almost all of the mainstream media as a strength, as a fundamental necessity needed within a society, but as something evil, something that must be curtailed, something that must be controlled, and at all cost banished from the public sphere. What is socially acceptable this year might not be next year. A tweet, a photo, an email, a joke, as many comedians have found out.
It's weird. It's weird. It's almost like there's a window of what is considered to be acceptable, and it moves and it changes over time. You know, that we move this window. We move over it. You know, the over window moves, and those who are not part of the zeitgeist seem to be called bigots.
From 10 years ago might come back to destroy your life currently. Nobody knows how or what will change in the next decade, let alone the next year. And for that reason, preference falsification is now practiced by a growing and large segment of society.
This is wild. I know this is going to be reductive, but there are times when I think they just really want to say the N-word. They just really want to say the N-word again. It's like, why can't we say it? It's like cultural norms have changed. This cancel culture, I tell you. I mean, all of our best words are gone. All the greatest slurs. Why can't I tweet them?
Current contest this coming November that shows in almost every poll given that the candidate, Joseph Biden of the Democratic Party, is a shoo-in for president. So with that in mind, in this video, what we're going to be doing is a thought experiment. And I will say that again.
The video's almost halfway done.
At YouTube. This is a thought experiment. None of it may come
to
pass.
No. Oh, no.
Some of it might.
Oh,
what
no.
we're going to do is prognosticate how the November 2020 election could remove the United from the United States and lead to a quasi-Civil War 2.0 of sorts.
Are we going to get a rape analogy? I feel a rape analogy is coming on.
So, on the day that this video is being produced, that being the 2nd of September 2020, Washington, D.C.'s Mayor Muriel Bowser has ordered a re-evaluation of public spaces and monuments to, quote, ensure their names and legacies are consistent with modern values, closed quote. And she will be sharing the results of that re-evaluation very soon, after warning that the U.S. is headed for a race war. Names like Benjamin, Jefferson, and Washington are all targeted for removal, and yes,
thank you, Pigeon Squid.
Washington
I agree.
Memorial. While the renaming and removal of monuments in the nation's capital might bring tears of joy to some, elation to many, it cannot be overstated how removing monuments to America's founding fathers would just heap more wood on the pyre of what's left of social cohesion in the United States. With 2/3 of the way through the year 2020, the United States is looking more and more and more like a dysfunctional banana republic, and the chances are very high that it will be able to demonstrate this in...
Who do you think has been in power for the last 4 years? Because I keep wondering that. I mean, I know we're getting close to elections, so now everyone's like, oh no, what will happen? But who's been running the show? And I say that to all the conservatives right now who are flipping out about this stuff.
So then the question then remains, how could the current low-intensity conflict that's on slow boil...
So many questions remain. You've done nothing. You haven't even proposed anything.
There is a reason in the age of the internet that
speaking riddles, my friend.
Mail-in ballots, and it's the same reason they are against voter ID. Put simply, the process is ripe for corrupting. Looking at the electoral map, there's a very good chance that the Democrats are again not going to be able to win the Electoral College vote, but are now then looking for a clear margin in the popular vote, and there's a very substantial reason why.
Citation needed.
Now ask yourself, who will be counting those votes in Portland, in Chicago, in San Francisco, in New York? And then ask yourself why the Democratic Party supports policies like no voter ID, policies like mail-in balloting so strenuously. In fact, it was none...
I love the bottom there. A Rockefeller attributed to Joseph Stalin. Daddy Stalin is amongst us. Get out your tanks, everyone. He's here.
So strenuously. In fact, it was none other than Hillary Clinton, the Democratic candidate in 2016, that zeroed in on this issue, that of mail-in voting, and has said that, quote, Joe Biden should not concede under any circumstances because I think this is going to drag out, closed quote. Raising stakes even higher in an unprecedented rebuke, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, that being the highest military officer in the United States, was forced to explain to Congress that the military will not intervene in the election or resolve a disputed vote. And this was after Joe Biden claimed that Trump would have to be dragged from the White House by the military in the event of a contested vote. This is coming on the heels and was reported by the Boston Globe that a group of political operatives, former government and military officials, and academics dubbed the Transition Integrity Project quietly convened online in June to game out possible results of the November election. Quote, all of our scenarios ended up in both street-level violence and political impasse, closed quote, said Rosa Brooks, a Georgetown law professor and former Defense Department official who co-organized the group. Also, in these simulations, there was the strong belief that should Trump win re-election, Oregon and California would declare their intent to secede from the United States. Now, the main conclusion of this group is that there is a disturbing fragility of American democracy. The one thing I'm pretty sure of in my prognostication
stock
of
footage.
2020
stock
is
footage.
It's going to make the hanging
it looks like Antifa
of the 2000 vote look like child's play. While this mess gets dragged out and on, the black mask sporting foot soldiers of globalism, of mayhem, and of destruction.
Globalism.
These groups that are loosely made up of the hashtag resistance will not stay silent and will work tirelessly to increase the divisions between Americans in the hope of ushering in their grand revolution. And the longer the election results are dragged out, the chances of altercations between the two disparate camps of supporters will approach pretty much 100%. Democratic cities in America are already emptying out as the result of the current COVID-19 outbreak, but also because of the nonstop rioting, looting, and the inability of the police to bring any of this under control. And if there's a wide margin between the popular vote, but still a loss for Biden in the Electoral College, there is a real possibility that much of the Democratic base will refuse to accept the election results. In a way, they already have back in 2016, over 4 years ago. It has all but characterized the Trump presidency as illegitimate and raised social tensions over these past 4 years to such a fevered pitch as to make many of America's cities, as stated previously, unlivable, and people fearful for expressing their true.
Do you see this shit? Like, he doesn't just stand on the sidelines, right? He's just like, he's not on the curb with a bat. He's patrolling the streets. Like, the streets. What if he comes for your kneecaps? All of our kneecaps. It's only a matter of time. And that's what I've seen. You know, the CEO of Antifa, when he put out that, like, basically statement, we're coming for your kneecaps. This is it. This is it in real time, everybody.
In scenarios that were gamed by the Financial Times, well, they concluded that Biden's party might not allow him to admit defeat in such circumstances, that being a loss of the Electoral College, but still winning the popular vote, with the Democratic candidate instead claiming that voter suppression had swung the results. However, if forced to concede defeat for a second time, that would be the Democratic Party's candidate. If forced to concede defeat for a second time, and this is my opinion and my prognostication, not the Times, I believe even should their candidate, Mr. Biden, do so, if he would concede defeat.
I'm really glad that he specified at that point that this is actually his opinion and it's not based in reality or fact. I think that applies to everything he does. That pretty much that's your entire ethos. It's a really shitty opinion piece and very, very unclear. I mean, I understand, like, I get, you know, the ethos of what you're trying to do.
Much of the foot soldiers of the party will refuse to yield, and the social unrest that we've seen over the past 100 days will only intensify. And it is from that point on, trying to read the tea leaves that is the sad mess of American democracy and what it has become is an exercise in futility. But come January,
It just got so meta. It just got so meta. Black Pigeon Speaks, because like I don't know what your tea leaves are trying to say. I don't understand any of this.
2021, we could be just one shot away from the shot that is heard around the world for a second time. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing to me here, but especially over on BitChute, which is a video sharing platform that still allows people to speak their mind. Again, thank you, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
It's great for the Nazis. Well, I'm glad to see that Black Pigeon Speaks is just as interesting as I remember. Absolute fucking gibberish babble. Hey, we want to mutual aid you to get some eyeballs on your work. So if you have a leftist YouTube channel or Twitch stream or something you want us to advertise, just send us a 20 to 30 second ad using the forums at weareserfs.com. We'll do our best to help you out. And please submit once per channel.
To our God, I'm Wrath. We pray at your altar of greatness. To our monarch, Thomas Bone, you are the light that guides our path. To our lords, Jeffrey Lamb, Trevor R., Stephen, Ninetails Cosmic Fox, Hans Josephine, and Poppy Nelson, we bow meekly for your pleasure. To our knights of the Round Table, Josh Mickelson, Dylan Byth, Alexander Thaler, Zach Christensen, Todd Buckingham, Todd Lajeunesse, Clement Chetska, Skybear Games, Moss Beast, Political Puppy, Ali Menthol, Jimmy Bignuts, Alan R., Andreas Chitoro, Good Poon Hates Cops, That's Solid Poon Then, Dr. Zayas, Joppy, Radiclu, Violent Orchard, and Sophie Baby, we salute you. And to our many merchants and farmers, thank you. Fuck you, Lance!